Hey CrateCharm fans, here we are again with a tutorial. We're going to talk about wood burning today. We've got a wood burning workshop coming up on the 22nd of September on Saturday from 2 to 4. But I wanted to go over some techniques in wood burning that I use that might be valuable to some of you. You can see that wood burning can take a lot of different forms. Everything from the simple X's and O's in this tic-tac-toe set to something like this, or maybe your other artwork, and even a portrait. You can see here where this has a little more detail to it. And I've got some crates here with numbers. We do that with wood burning. So anyway, today we're going to talk about making branding irons. And the branding irons we use for a lot of different things. Some of the simpler parts of wood burning, like making X's and O's. I use it to make the numbers on the crates, as well as making hearts. You might want to consider making a branding iron when you got something you need to make repetitious, a lot of parts that look the same. So anyway, let's get started. First of all, if you're not a responsible adult, you need to stop right now and go get a responsible adult to supervise you. You must have some adult supervision. Number one is safety. You're going to need to have this guy close by. Okay? That's right, fire extinguisher. We're going to try to do this safely, but we don't want to take any chances if things get out of control, right? Okay. Let me talk about the supplies we're going to use. I'm looking at some of these right here. These are branding irons that I made, and I've made them out of wire. You see this wire here? This is 12.5 gauge wire. It's very stiff, and this wire is the wire that is designed to hold ceiling grids in. And I like it because I can buy like 50 pieces at a time. It's 6 feet long, and that'll last me a long time. I use it for a lot of different things, but I use it frequently for branding irons. We'll talk about that a little later. Another type of wire that I use is these guys. Now these are tie wires. If you've ever worked in construction and seen concrete being poured, this is the kind of tie wire that ties the steel into the slab. And I use those frequently too for some of the more detailed branding irons. We'll talk about that too. Always keep a can set aside with water, and that's in case you need to extinguish a branding iron quickly. And I keep a can aside, just an empty can, where you can set your branding iron. Let's say if we're using this branding iron and we've got it hot and we're going to be using it again, but we don't want to extinguish it, and we can just set it in there. You need a flame resistant place to keep it till you use it again. Okay? Alright, let's talk about wood burning tools. These are standard wood burning tools. One of them has a thermostat control. I like the one that's not thermostat controlled. It's just something I don't have to turn off and on. But this is good for some detail work, like making some of the Christmas tree ornaments and things. And we have also a wide variety of wood burning accessories that can go into this tool, the tips I'm talking about. I've even got some that screw in that are alphabets, letters of the alphabet. We've got different shapes of tips to make different things, and as you go, as you learn wood burning, you learn the application of each one. So anyway, those are available. What I'm going to use today is going to be the wire to make the branding irons, and I'm going to use a wire plier or needle nose plier. I have some smaller pliers And these, if you're going to make some detailed curves and things, you might want a smaller set of pliers to do that. And I'm going to have, as usual, a pencil, and I've got a piece of paper that I'm going to design with. I've got a couple of pieces of, a piece of wood here and some of these wood cookies that we're going to practice on today to see how this is done. Okay. One of the tools that you're going to need for your branding irons is a torch, and the one that I use here is it's one that has a push button starter to it, so I can turn the propane on here and then just click it and I've got fire, and obviously I can turn it back off quickly. Now there are some torches that attach to the propane tanks that don't have the push button. You have to start it with a match or a torch thingy, igniter. Okay. When you're using the torch, you always want the torch facing away from you. Okay? Remember that. Always have the torch facing away from you. All right. Let's go ahead and let's start on something simple as like the X's and O's. Let's say we're going to make a tic-tac-toe set, and so we want to make an X and an O. I'm going to use a piece of my 12.5 gauge wire here, and you'll notice I'm cutting off a pretty lengthy portion. You don't want to cut it too short and then get it really hot on the end and it's the heat come up and burn your fingers. You want to have some length to it. Okay, now if I'm making an O, it's going to be just a round circle, right? Okay, that's pretty easy. So let's start bending our wire, and I use needle nose pliers for most of my wire bending, and you just manipulate it around there until it starts looking like an O. You see that? Is that looking like an O? Why, yes it is. It looks very much like an O, doesn't it? Okay, let's take, at this point where we're getting to the end of the O, and we're going to raise that straight up like so. You see what I got there now? Alright. Now, you notice it's open a little bit. I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's still going to be open just a little bit, but I have a technique for closing that gap. Alright. Now, there's our O. Okay? Look good? Looks good to me. On the X, you notice the X is just two straight lines, right? Okay, so let's, I usually like to turn the end of my X portion of the branding iron up, and I'm going to turn this end up for the handle portion of it. So if you look at it that way, all you have is a straight line, right? Okay, that's what we're going to use. Let's go ahead and get started. Remember, extreme caution when working with fire. Alright, and let's keep our can available to extinguish. Alright, now we want to heat this up, and we're going to put it right at the end of the dark blue flame. That will heat it up faster. And we like to get it, it doesn't take very long, we like to get it where it's starting to get red. You see what I'm getting there? Can you zoom in on that? Alright, I got it red, glowing red. Now that we've got it red hot, it takes a steady hand to do this, and we're just going to roll it back and forth across that cookie. And there we've got half of our X. We're going to heat it up again. And it doesn't take long for this to cool down, so you got to keep it hot when you're using it. Looking to kind of red, and we're going to make the other half of the X. And we're just going to roll it back and forth. That looks like an X, doesn't it? Alright. Now we're going to extinguish that end of the branding iron because this end that we were using to make the X is now going to be the end we're holding, so we don't want it to be hot. Be sure and keep the water handy for that. Alright, let's make the O. And I'm going to hold it up here. And I'm going to get it red hot too. Just keep your hand at a distance. Make sure that flame's pointed away from you. And it may take a minute to get the whole thing hot enough to brand with, but we got some time, so just keep moving. Keep rotating it around till you get the whole thing hot. And it's looking good. And we're about ready to go to the cookie. Alright, let's go to the cookie and use a steady hand. Place it down and just kind of roll it around there where it will make a good part of the O. Now, we're going to heat this branding iron back up, and we're going to use a portion of that, the round portion, to close up that gap that we have there, okay? Now, look what we're doing here. We're just going to try to blend it in there, and there's our O. Alright? Okay. Next, we're going to make one using the small wire, and this wire is a 17 gauge wire. It's a lot smaller, and it's very easy to bend. Obviously, not as easy to cut as I thought, but let's cut the end of it off. And this is the part we're going to use for our iron. And my name is John. So I'm going to make my initial J, and I'm just going to roll that right around to where it looks like a J, making kind of a small loop right there. Is that what J looks like? And then at the top of my J, I'm going to fold it straight up so that I can hold it away from me. Okay, does that look like a J? Yeah, it looks reversed from there, but okay, let's turn our torch back on. Be sure and always turn your torch off when you're not using it. These wires heat up a lot quicker because they're so small. This 17 gauge wire heats up really quick, so it doesn't take long. And we're going to get it up there in the flame, get hot. You don't want to get it too hot where it melts, but we're going to get it red, and then I'm going to steadily put it right down in the middle of my cookie, and there's my initial J. Alright, and I'll extinguish that one. Again, be sure turn your torch off when you're not using it. Alright, let's try another one. Let's say you have a design that you're going to make with a branding iron because you want to make many of them. You noticed our little crates that had the double hearts on there. I branded a lot of those crates, so I didn't want to do each one by hand, so I made a branding iron for it. We're going to draw a heart, and that's what we're going to make a branding iron to make our heart. And let's say it looks something like this right here. Okay, does that look like a heart? Alright. Again, I'm going to use my 12.5 gauge wire, and I'm going to cut me a pretty good length of my wire. Alright. Now I can begin making the heart shape just by rolling around the same way that we made the O for the tic-tac-toe game, and I can check it against my drawing and get it exactly what I want it to look like. And we're getting kind of close. And you can be as particular as you want to be when making this. You can make it have your heart be exactly what you've drawn, or just in the neighborhood. Just make it kind of close. I'm not real particular about those. I'm going to say that's close enough, wouldn't you? Okay, so I'm going to mark right there at the end of my heart, and I want to brand the heart from that point. So I'm going to raise it up just like that. That makes half of my heart. You see that? Okay, now the other half of the heart's going to be, I'm going to put it on this other end. Okay? And I'm going to start the same way, just bending and making my loop of that heart. Same way we made the O. And just work it around there. You can take your time doing this. Stop, check it, see how you're doing. Alright, and once again I'm going to check and see. It's looking pretty good. I'm liking it. Okay, and we're not too bad. We're not too far off. Oops, I made it a little skinny there. All right, and I'm seeing that I'll need to clip just a little bit off of this end. And remember, you can always change this by cutting a little bit off the end. Okay, now I'm going to lay it down on my drawing, and I'm going to say then that I want it to end right there at that point. And again, I'm going to bend this up to be the end of my heart. Okay, does that look right? Alright, so let's try it. Let's see if it's going to make a heart for us. I've got a piece of wood here. Go ahead and start our torch back up. Be sure it's facing away from you. And I'm going to start heating that up. And it's going the bigger your design is, your iron, the longer it takes to heat it up, because you've got to get it hot all the way around the design. You can see we're starting to get hot. Doing pretty good. I'm trying the optimal position where it heats the whole thing up. When you get it pretty much red hot all the way around, we're going to take it and we're going to place it, and once you put it down, you don't want to move it. You can roll it around there, and you got half of your heart. Okay, now this end's going to be the end that I want to hold for the other brand. So I want to extinguish it, and as soon as you drop it in that cool water, you can hold it, okay? So now we're going to take the other end, do the same thing to this end, heat it up. It may take a minute to get it hot enough to brand with. Starting to get red, starting to glow. Looking good, looking good. Alright, let's see. Now, positioning this is very critical at this point, so that your image comes out looking like a heart. I'm going to extinguish that, and we're going to turn the torch off. Alright. Okay. Now, I've got some sandpaper here. When you do wood burning like this with a branding iron, you can see a little singed edge around it where it's scorched. You can remove that with sandpaper. Just sand it. And it doesn't take a lot, but you want to sand it enough that it takes that singed part off. And what that does is, number one, it takes the singed part off. Blow some of that out of there. and it sharpens up your image quite a bit. Okay, remember, and then do the same thing on your tic-tac-toe cookies. You can sand them and it will sharpen up the image and make it a clearer view and look a lot cleaner. There we go. All right, and that's going to do it for our branding iron tutorial. You can be creative. You can make those branding irons to brand any image you want. Sometimes you may have to have two brands like we did with the heart, or it could be, I have made the state of Texas shape using 3 different irons to get all of the turns and bends in it. But you be creative and do it the way you want to. But also remember to be careful, all right? And remember, crafting is like working and playing at the same time. We'll see you next time.